the gentle art of harvesting and preparing cabbage for sauerkraut. In our family, it was always a grand affair filled with songs, laughter, and words of gratitude. How about in your home? He paused, then added, as if reciting an old proverb, "In our circle, we say, cabbage does not favor noise, but it respects patience." What did your grandmothers teach when the time came to prepare? Ephraim glanced thoughtfully toward the garden, where leafy heads of cabbage swayed in the crisp fall air. "The earth cradles each seedling with care," he said. "You must wait until the leaves turn firm, the stalks tough, yet not withered. That is the sign to gather. Harvest only when the morning dew is gone, but before the frosts bite deep into the soil." Salomea nodded gently, recalling her mother's hands steady over the wooden barrel where cabbages would soon find their destiny. Amos Stoltzfus, the seasoned elder from the community, joined the talk, resting on his wooden cane. "We must honor the soil from which the cabbage springs. It listens to the touch of the plow, yet it speaks back more clearly when worked by hand," he advised. Using machines tears at the earth's spirit. Hand-tilling is prayer itself, a dialogue of respect and patience. Amend the ground with compost from last year's garden, and plant green manures to renew what was given. The soil grows with our care, much like a child nurtured in kindness. Elijah Byler, a younger helper, eager but still learning, stepped forward. "Why is the soil so important to the cabbage's taste?" he asked, eyes bright with curiosity. Ephraim smiled and answered softly, "Each root drinks not just water, but the stories and songs buried deep beneath the surface. The gentleness of our hands grants the earth peace, allowing the cabbage to swell with life and sweetness. The labor we perform is a form of worship, a sacred rhythm between human and nature." The songs are more than music. They anchor the heart, reminding us that all things grow through patience and love. Simeon Gutman, who worked the fields with tireless hands, shared his insight. "To work the garden soil by hand is to weave a bond of trust. The cabbages feel our care, our silence, and they respond by offering a richer yield. The work is hard but never rushed, much like the slow turning of the seasons. Noise unsettles the crops. Quiet strengthens the roots." Zipporah Lehman, the keeper of the hearth, nodded in agreement. And within the house, we preserve that peace by filling our tasks with gratitude. Each jar of sauerkraut is a testament to the harmony of toil, calm, and thankfulness. Malachi Zook, the wise elder whose words often bridged earth and spirit, imparted his counsel. "The labor of our hands is the sowing of prayers. Fermentation holds a miracle. It transforms the humble cabbage into nourishment for body and soul. When we tend the earth gently with reverence, we invite blessings through the harvest. Gratitude is the water that feeds the roots of our efforts." Ephraim clasped his hands together, his gaze steady. "Come, let us prepare. Gather the cabbage only as the dawn empties the fields of chill. Cut carefully, shield the heads from bruising, shred with patience, salt with respect. Remember the songs Elspeth sings and the quiet of Zipporah's hearth. This is how we keep our tradition alive." As the sun settled behind rolling hills, their peaceful gathering spoke of time past and time yet to come. Together they moved through the soft earth, hands steady, and hearts singing a silent hymn. The ancient knowledge these elders shared was more than instruction. It was a living thread, weaving past and present in the endless dance of earth and men. And so, as the jars began to fill and the air filled with that unmistakable aroma of transformation, the story of the land and its people gently crescendoed toward the next season's promise. The earth's gift was honored, the labor sanctified, and the quiet thanksgiving marked another cycle in their humble yet profound symphony of life, nurturing the earth by hand with reverence and patience. From which town or village do you watch us? Here the cabbage is already being cut for pickling. And how about you? Have you ever remembered with whom you first fermented cabbage? In our family, it was always a grand event, filled with songs, laughter, and thankfulness. Our wise elder, Ephraim Yoder, often reminds us that cabbage does not love noise, but it respects patience. What did your grandmothers say when they began to prepare their sauerkraut? Ephraim's voice, calm as the evening breeze rustling through autumn leaves, carries the weight of generations. When our forebears gathered the green heads of cabbage, they waited until the leaves turned thick and firm, yet before the first hard frost kissed the fields. The timing is sacred, for each leaf holds the earth's whispered blessings. We harvest under a sky painted in soft amber, knowing this is the perfect hour. Salomea Hirschberger, known for her steady hands and keen sense of flavor, steps forward to share her method. We do not rush the chopping, for the knife must honor each crisp fold. Carefully we slice the cabbages thin, almost transparent, as if unveiling the secret veins of life within. The salt we use, coarser than the day's hardships, draws out the spirits of the cabbage, whispering transformation. Amos Stoltzfus nods thoughtfully, his eyes reflecting long years of tending earth. The soil that nurtures these cabbages must be humbled and cherished. I counsel tending the land with bare hands, turning the earth gently as our ancestors did, allowing the soil to breathe like a living heart. No machines here, only the true touch of man and woman's toil. Elijah Byler, his youthful gaze bright, muses softly, "There is a rhythm to this labor, a sacred dance between hand, soil, and seed." As we press the cabbage into the barrels, layer by layered layer, we build more than a vegetable landscape. We build a covenant of patience and hope, like planting a prayer deep underground. Zipporah Lehman, guardian of quiet moments, reminds all to pause. In this work, silence is a companion, not the silence of emptiness, but of reverence. We listen within that hush to the earth's murmurs, giving thanks for every leaf and root sustained beneath our care. Simeon Gutman, strong and steady, joins in with a smile. Remember that the weight of each cabbage head is matched by the strength of hands that tend it. We press firmly, layering salt and a few caraway seeds, sometimes a bay leaf or juniper berry passed down from elders. No hurry. The cabbage surrenders its essence slowly, as all good things do. Elsbeth Moser's voice weaves through the group like a cherished song. Once, my grandmother sang a song of the land's bounty, words that spoke of patience and the blessed harvest. From humble leaf to golden jar, she said, the toil is honored and the soul nourished. Such songs keep the spirit alive, reminding us why these rituals matter. Malachi Zook, whose wisdom often bridges labor and spirit, imparts gently, "Our work in the fields is more than tending crops. It is tending the soul of creation itself. The land does not yield to force or haste, but to care and gratitude. When we labor with reverence, the harvest is fuller, richer not only in taste but in meaning." Together, these voices invite us to understand the sacred cycle from earth to hand, from hand to heart. And as the sun dips low, bathing the fields in soft gold, the barrels of cabbage await the slow magic of transformation. The soil breathes beneath our feet, the silence enfolds our work, and the humble cabbage speaks of life lived gently, in harmony with the land. As the leaves settle and the barrels seal tight, we feel the truth in every tender leaf. To cherish the earth with patience and to give thanks in every moment is to live fully, in peace with the world beneath the sky. And now, with this ancient wisdom coursing through our hands, we prepare to learn how to store and nurture our pickled treasure through the quiet months of winter, ensuring the gift of summer endures until the earth turns green again. Embracing work as a sacred path to harvest and blessing. From which town or village do you watch us? Here, we have begun cutting the cabbage for sauerkraut. Has your time come yet? Ephraim Yoder's calm voice carried gently through the crisp autumn air as he gathered the family near the garden patch. Beside him stood Salomea Hirschberger, her hands dusted with flour and wisdom, while Amos Stoltzfus placed soil samples carefully on the wooden bench. Elijah Byler, eager and tentative, looked on as Elspeth Moser softly hummed old folk songs, and Simeon Gutman knelt, his hands caressing the earth. Zipporah Lehman tended the stove inside, ensuring the home remained a sanctuary of peace. Do you remember with whom you first pressed the cabbage? In our home, it is a sacred ritual filled with laughter, songs, and deep thankfulness, Ephraim continued, his eyes reflecting years of quiet devotion. Our foremothers and forefathers taught us this. Cabbage does not care for noise, but honors patience. What wisdom did your grandmother share when the turning of cabbage began? Malachi Zook stepped forward, his voice like a gentle brook weaving through the ages. My friends, the labor in the field is much more than mere toil. It is a covenant with the earth, a hymn of gratitude whispered through the leaves. To prepare for sauerkraut, timing is sacred. We wait for the chill in the air, when the leaves grow firm, heavy with dew, signaling the right moment to gather our harvest. Ephraim nodded slowly, his weathered hands illustrating the process. We choose days when the sun's warmth is mild, yet the night's frost sharpens the stalks. The cabbages, dense and bright, are cut at the root, leaving the earth ready to rest. Salomea, guide us. How do we honor the cabbage's spirit in its preparation? Salomea smiled gently, peeling back layers of her knowledge like the very leaves she shredded. First, we wash the cabbages well with cold water gathered from the spring. Then, with a sharp knife, we finely shred, revealing the tender heart. The salt we use is coarse and unrefined, never hurried. We sprinkle slowly, almost reverently, coaxing the cabbage to release its own life-giving brine. Amos raised a handful of rich, dark soil, his voice solemn. The earth which bore this cabbage is kept sacred. We never rush its healing. Hand-tilling breaks the ground just so, letting it breathe, much like a prayer. Machines, though swift, lose the touch of the soul in their roar. The soil's life thrives when we move gently, returning all we borrow. Elijah's bright eyes reflected wonder as he asked, "Why must the work be quiet? Is it not enough to break the soil and plant the seeds?" Zipporah, from the hearth's glow, answered quietly, "Silence is the veil between man and God's handiwork. Within the hush, the plants listen and grow. It teaches us humility, patience, and reverence. Our whole family gathers in this calm, weaving gratitude into the very air." Elsbeth's voice rose softly with a melody. The songs remind us that every leaf turned is a blessing meant to be shared, and every turn of the cabbage a promise of health for the long winter. Our ancestors believed that noise would startle the spirits of the garden, but gratitude invites their favor. Simeon wiped his hands on his rough trousers, saying, "There is honor in the labor itself." The muscles that strain against the earth's hold tell stories of perseverance. Each cabbage sliced by hand and pressed into crocks carries the weight of hands that have bent before us and hands that will follow. Malachi closed his eyes briefly, then opened them to the young ones. Children of the soil, remember this. The cycle of planting and harvest is not merely a task. It is a sacred dance between man and maker. Every salt grain placed, every leaf folded, is a prayer written in action. Salomea continued, sharing the age-old secret spices of their tradition: juniper berries, caraway seeds, and shredded carrots, each measured lightly to add subtle warmth and healthful qualities, never overpowering the cabbage's natural song. These notes, passed from mother to daughter, enriched the sauerkraut with layers of ancestral care. Ephraim added softly, "After salting, we press the leaves down firmly, like shaping the earth with our hands, until the brine rises to cover all. The crocks then rest in cool cellars, away from light and noise. Here the quiet fermentation teaches patience, and the slow alchemy rewards our faith with nourishment and preservation." Amos nodded, emphasizing the continued care of the fields. After harvest, we replenish the soil with compost made from kitchen scraps and old plant matter, turning it carefully by hand. This nurtures the microbes and worms, those quiet keepers of fertility. No hurried tillage, only steady kindness. Elijah stepped closer, inspired by the harmony of labor and spirit. It is humbling to realize that the cabbage teaches us more than nourishment. It teaches us respect for the land, for time, and for the sacred balance we live within. Indeed, Ephraim whispered, as Psalms tell us, we are stewards of the earth, and every seed sown is a covenant with the future. We bow in grateful silence, for each harvest is a chorus of blessings. Zipporah prepared warm linen cloths, folding them carefully to cover the crocks and preserve the peace. Let the household remain a place of stillness and thanks. It is within this calm that our labors become offerings. Elsbeth lifted her voice once more, singing softly a melody woven from the past, honoring the hands that work with love, the earth that gives freely, and the spirit that sustains all. As the light waned and shadows grew long over the fields, Ephraim's eyes twinkled. We have learned that true abundance grows not from haste or clamor, but from the quiet bridge built by patient hands and thankful hearts. Malachi's wise voice closed the circle of gathered souls. May every turned cabbage remind us of the eternal dance of labor and grace, of toil and faith, binding us to the earth and to one another. And so, with hearts heavy with quiet joy and minds steeped in ancient wisdom, the family prepared to welcome the rest of the harvest season, carrying forward the bounty not just in crocks and cellars, but in the sacred covenant of their shared labor and love. The frost would soon deepen, but with it, the promise of tomorrow's work and the soundless song of the earth's unending gift would rise again, calling all who listen to carry forth the peaceful tradition born from hand and heart.